Half a cup of black beans holds about 8 grams of fiber, and roughly 95% of adults over 60 aren't getting enough of it. That single gap quietly touches your blood sugar, your cholesterol, your gut, and even how much muscle you hold on to as the years stack up. By the end of the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly what a daily bowl of beans does inside your body after 60, step by step, organ by organ. And you'll find out why the people who live longest on Earth almost all eat the same humble food, but the reason is not what you think. Hold that question. We'll come back to it. Start where the beans start, your mouth, then your stomach, then the small intestine. Here's the strange part. A huge portion of those beans doesn't get absorbed at all. Most starchy foods break down fast into sugar and flood your bloodstream. Beans don't. Their starch is locked inside tough cell walls and wrapped in fiber, so digestion is slow and messy and incomplete. What survives is called resistant starch, starch that resists you, and that failure to digest is the whole point. So what happens to your blood sugar? Instead of a spike, you get a slope. Research consistently shows beans have one of the lowest glycemic responses of any carbohydrate food, meaning glucose trickles into your blood rather than surging. After 60, this matters more than it did at 30. Insulin sensitivity tends to decline with age, muscle takes up sugar less efficiently, and steep glucose swings become harder to buffer. Studies in people with type 2 diabetes have found that adding a cup of legumes daily was associated with meaningfully lower long-term blood sugar markers. Same calories, different curve. But that's not even the most useful part. Follow the fiber further down. Now you're in the large intestine, and this is where beans stop being food and start being fuel, not for you, for the trillions of bacteria living in your colon. They ferment that resistant starch and soluble fiber, and in return, they produce short-chain fatty acids, especially one called butyrate. Butyrate is the preferred energy source for the cells lining your colon. It helps maintain the gut barrier and appears to calm inflammation locally. Here's why the timing matters. Gut bacterial diversity tends to decline with age, and lower diversity has been associated with frailty in older adults. Feeding those bacteria daily is one of the few levers you actually control 3 times a day. And yes, that fermentation makes gas. That's not a malfunction. That's the sound of the process working. Research suggests most people's gas complaints drop substantially within 2 to 3 weeks of steady bean eating as the microbial population shifts. Start with a quarter cup, rinse canned beans well, and build up slowly. Here's where it flips. That same soluble fiber does something in your bloodstream you'd never guess from looking at a bowl of beans. Soluble fiber forms a gel in your gut. That gel traps bile acids, the cholesterol-based fluid your liver squirts out to digest fat, and carries them out of your body instead of letting them get recycled. Your liver notices the shortage and pulls cholesterol out of your blood to make more. Pooled analyses of controlled trials have found that regular legume intake is associated with modest but real reductions in LDL cholesterol, roughly in the range of 5 to 7%. Modest sounds small. Sustained across years in a body where arterial stiffness is already increasing, modest compounds.
Now the part almost nobody connects to beans. After 60, the biggest quiet threat to your independence isn't cholesterol, it's muscle. Adults can lose somewhere around 3 to 8% of muscle mass per decade after 30, and the rate accelerates later in life. Muscle is what keeps you standing up from a chair unassisted at 80. Protein is the raw material, and aging bodies actually need somewhat more protein per pound than younger ones, because older muscle responds less efficiently to the same dose. A cup of cooked beans delivers roughly 15 grams of protein, plus magnesium, potassium, folate, and iron for very few calories. Beans alone don't have the perfect amino acid profile. They're lower in one called methionine, but pair them with rice, corn, oats, or bread across the day and the gap closes. That's not a modern hack. That's why every traditional cuisine on Earth invented beans and grain together. Potassium deserves its own moment. Most people over 60 fall short, and potassium works against sodium to help relax blood vessel walls. A cup of white beans carries more potassium than a large banana. It's one of the most under-discussed numbers in the whole food. So that question from the beginning, the longest-lived populations on Earth, the ones studied in Okinawa, Sardinia, Costa Rica, and Icaria, all eat beans nearly every day, around a cup on average. And the assumption is that beans are the magic. Here's the more honest answer researchers keep circling. It may be less about what beans add and more about what they replace. Every day someone eats beans is a day they're eating less refined starch, less processed meat, less of the food that drives the slow damage. Beans are cheap, shelf-stable, filling, and boring in the best possible way, so people actually keep eating them for 50 years. The magic isn't a compound, it's consistency, and beans are one of the very few foods humans stay consistent with. That said, this is population-level observation, not proof of cause. Nobody has run a 50-year randomized trial, and honest science says so. A fair caution: if you take certain medications, have kidney disease, or manage a condition where kidney intake or protein intake is restricted, beans are not automatically the right call for you. That's a conversation with your doctor, not a YouTube channel. If this made your own body feel a little less mysterious, subscribe and keep decoding how your body works with us, one system at a time. Next up, what happens to your bones when you walk every day after 60? Where the thing that strengthens your skeleton isn't calcium, it's a signal, and it only fires under one specific condition. You'll want to hear that one before your next walk. One last thing. This video is educational content only. It's here to explain how your body works, not to diagnose anything or tell you what to do. Before you change your diet, your supplements, or anything about how you manage your health, talk with your doctor or another qualified professional who knows your history. Take care of yourself.